So you can see they said that specific vehicle. Specific. That means actually 2011 to 2013.
So far, we have a list of approximately 22,000 registered white Hyundai Elantras that fit into our criteria.
That doesn't mean change the year of the vehicle you're looking for after you arrest Bryan Kohberger.
It's a fair point.
Or as you write the affidavit to arrest Bryan Kohberger.
That's relevant because over the last few days, police have been asking the public's help for any information on a white 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra.
That's sus. In fact, that's so sus, it's a boom.
And breaking news in the investigation into the murders of the 4 University of Idaho students, detectives announced just minutes ago that they are interested in talking to the person or people in a white 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra.
We have to ask ourselves, is that some type of 4D chess the police department was playing? It seems super strange.
So full disclosure, I'm not taking any shots at anybody in this video. Crime Circus has raised some valid points. And that's a fair question to wonder why the year of the vehicle has changed so much throughout the investigation and why the 911 call hadn't been released. And I got those answers today, and I'm curious about your thoughts with the release of the 911 call. Why hasn't it happened? Plus, why the year of the vehicle hasn't been more specific from the start of the investigation. And if an open conversation is something you prefer, then this is the place for you. Welcome to The Point, so let's get after it. So as you saw in those clips by Moscow Police Department, plus several news agencies, that this Hyundai Elantra was a prime piece of the investigation. And they have placed all over, looking forward 2011 to 2013. But when Bryan Kohberger is arrested, we noticed that the year of the vehicle had changed to a 2015. And like me, a lot of other people were saying, wait, hang on a second. Y'all had said 2011 to 2013, but here he is with the 2015. And we see all these differences between those vehicles. In fact, I'll put them up right here, the 2013, 2015. And all of us, all over the internet, were sitting there posting up pictures, circling differences between the two, analyzing every little thing that's different with them. And people were saying, these vehicles are completely different. How on earth can they get this so wrong? Why didn't they tell us from the beginning, 2015? So when you look at the generation models for the Hyundai Elantra, I'll post it right here. It's a 5th generation vehicle. So when you look at a generation of a vehicle, what they're basically saying is when they designed that particular vehicle, they only expect it to last 4 to 5 years on average. And about halfway through the lifespan of that design, they may do something what's called a facelift. Now, the differences between a generational vehicle are generally universally accepted as major body changes, powertrain changes, the whole style, the trim, everything from bumper to bumper. Now, there was a facelift change on that 2015 Hyundai Elantra that did make it different from the 2013. But a facelift, though, is very minor changes. A couple of new bells and whistles, so to speak. And everybody was sitting there pointing out these images online. But what are these images showing us? You are looking at, right here and here, high definition images that have went through Photoshop, that had the finest lenses that money can buy, the best equipment that money can buy. But remember what we were looking at. You have this image posted right here. And of course, then you've got this alleged Linda Lane footage that supposedly shows Bryan Kohberger's vehicle right here. Do these look like high quality images to you? Does it look like it was shot on some sort of movie quality or studio quality camera? No, it's not. So when they had said 2011 to 2013, they are still within the same generation. The major characteristics would still be the same, and they're not going to pinpoint these minute changes in this vehicle and list it to the public. So the whole reason why it changed at the time of the affidavit versus what they were saying originally, it doesn't have to be some big conspiracy. Quite simply put, it's the same generation of vehicle. There are no major differences between the 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15. They started to do the minor facelift, but you're not going to be able to tell that vehicle had a facelift on this typical grainy black and white security camera footage. But now let's look at the 911 call. Why hasn't it been released? Well, we know the day that they called. We had heard police say, and I'll pull it up right here, that an individual from the home using the roommate's cell phone had placed a call, and they talked to multiple individuals. And if you look at Whitcom's 911 policy, they put out the call that it was unresponsive. And all of us thought, okay, well, somebody passed out, or they had said somebody in the home was unresponsive. But Whitcomb 911's policy is when they receive calls from frantic people, they treat it the same way they would as if they weren't receiving any information at all. Because there were multiple people in on this 911 call, and they were very frantic. They weren't explaining anything that clearly, we can assume. But why wouldn't it be released? Why hasn't it been released? The police chief even said right here.
When will the department release the 911 call, or can we expect that to be publicly released?
I think it'll be released when the prosecution believes that we can release that. That may be a trial. That may be before then. But some of that, we make a decision as a team of investigators and administration, as well as our prosecutor's office. So we want to make sure that we hold that until it's no longer, not that it's not needed, but it's okay for the case.
So when the prosecution, you heard him, when the prosecution deems it ready, deems that this is no longer usable, what he's trying to say here is this 911 call is now what they consider investigative material. And I'll paraphrase it. Investigative material is all documents, data, information, or transcripts of testimony to include witness statements, affidavits, transcripts, or letters. So the information within this 911 call, they're considering it investigative material. But what on earth could they say in a 911 call to hinder it not being released? And I believe that answer to be a whole lot simpler than what we had originally thought. Fact remains, look back into this investigation from the very start. Anybody and everybody tied to this investigation was doxxed, harassed, mass messaged, media reached out to them. Some of them withdrew from the school altogether. People didn't want to go out in public. Nobody wanted to talk to anybody because everything they said was hyperanalyzed. We know for a fact that one of the roommates' phones was used. And we know that there were multiple people there. Friends of the roommates. And we can assume friends of the 4 victims. But there is no way on earth that the police are going to release this 911 call right now, because as soon as we do, any and all names we get associated to that 911 call, all those individuals are going to be harassed. Now, there may be information contained within that 911 call that makes it pertinent to the investigation, and that 911 call has been released to the defense. But I don't believe in any way, shape, or form that the individuals who gave that 911 call want that thing released, because they don't want to be hounded to death like everybody else in the state of Idaho who happens to have the first name Jack. So yeah, while there may be conspiracies tied to this case, there may be a lot of questions tied to this case. I think if we can break some of this down, we can answer some of these oddities that we're seeing and move forward hopefully to a better solution. But what did you think about the 911 call? What do you think about how the vehicle was initially reported to what we eventually found out? Do you think they legitimately had no clue with this vehicle? Or do you believe that, hey, look, it's in the same generation, it's not that big of a deal, they got it close enough? Either way, I'm curious about your thoughts. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here, and I'll catch you in the next one.